Yeah, the thing is, I don't know if I would have gotten myself to the point where I can like do multiple runs and like grind it out. Honestly, if I could get 100 per week, that makes me pretty happy because it means that like in a month and a half I can have like the first mount that I want, and I'm pretty excited about that. What I'm mostly excited about is the just the fact that I managed to get myself into this content. What's been bothering me the most is this little bit of anxiety that I had when it comes to any form of end game content. Like, ooh, how am I gonna do this or whatever? But like once you figure it out, it's not really that hard. Like I spent the entire time from like May last year to until pretty much now, like January or February, doing the MSQ and not even thinking or considering that I can get myself into endgame content because I was like, oh, that's not for me just yet. You know, I'm doing the story, I'm doing the side content or whatever. But now that I've somewhat stabilized when it comes to like the amount of just the amount of stuff that I have going on in my life, now I feel like I can like actually participate in endgame, and I'm running out of side content to be doing, and now I want to do this. So it just feels really good to finally feel like I'm getting access to these things as well, and I'm actually pretty happy about that. Honestly, the mounts, like I said, the mounts aren't as valuable to me as getting enough confidence, I suppose, to participate in this kind of content as well. Because, like, I remember when I was playing World of Warcraft, I like all you ever had to do in game after you finished like leveling or whatever is the end game. And end game, even though it was like a really obvious thing to do, it felt so unreachable because if you're not sitting there grinding stuff all the time, you feel like you're either not just not good enough, but also not equipped enough because you're either missing the gear or missing some form of progression or something like that that you can't actually get yourself into content that easily. So I'm happy that I no longer have to have that feeling that like look at this, like you can just like enter the party finder, right? Look at these duties and see just how many people are doing these runs. Like if you want, you can just like get yourself into Savage for the first time. And actually when it comes to that, like I actually forgot to talk about this at the beginning of the stream. My newfound confidence to actually do some endgame content has gotten me to the point where I think I'm going to stop listening to all these people being like, oh, if you want to do Savage, you have to be awesome, you have to be this and that. Obviously, I need to have gear. Obviously, I need to have melded, gear. I need to work more on getting my astronomies and whatnot. I know that I've been slacking with my expert roulettes and whatnot, but at the same time, I think I'm gonna get myself into Savage. I think it's gonna be good for me overall, at least for all the other things that I'm doing, like extremes and everything. I think it's something fun to do on stream. I'm gonna start off very easily, very casually, and I will be going through Party Finder. So I will start with the first boss, and I will just keep entering those groups and keep queuing until I get the clear. And that's pretty much going to be it's obviously it's a long term for me because I can only realistically commit myself to this while I'm streaming or playing during the weekend, because that's not when I'm with my kid. So I didn't know if I would get to do this tomorrow. That was depending on how this fight was gonna go. But tomorrow on stream, I'm going to start queuing for Savage. It's exciting for me because I've never actually done Savage for the first time. I will start with one, obviously. Like I understand that the Phoenix is just shockingly difficult, and I don't even want to talk about what happens in P4S. I know that that's something that mostly is done through statics and whatnot, and I understand that the party finder route is a lot harder to progress through because every time you're like in a new environment or whatever, it's reachable and it gives me something to do with you guys, something to do on stream. I do love doing side quests, doing all this stuff, but sometimes when I feel like I am it's really sad to say this, but when I feel like I'm healthy enough, I want to be doing these things because as you might know, I've been sick for like a while over the last few months as my toddler has started daycare, and he brings like a new bug every single week, and it's only like a matter of time when I get sick, and I rarely don't get sick. This time he's actually been consistently going for like 2 or 3 weeks, and I've been pretty happy about that. And I didn't get sick this week, even though my nose is still kind of clogged. I don't have fever. I don't feel like I don't know, lacking strength to do these things. So considering that I'm expecting at any point of time to also get sick when he gets sick, I want to use these weekends when we are, not in bed to just do this kind of content that essentially makes me happy. It feels good to down a boss even if you don't have like a static or something. And maybe these streams, hopefully they are helpful even for people who feel like they who feel anxious about Party Finder. I've been one of the most anxious people, queuing in Party Finder. I don't really know how to like converse in chat in a very good way. It sounds contradictory, but I think I do a lot better when I talk to someone through Discord, and it's just easier to communicate that way. But like people, when they write in chat, they always intimidate me. So I never like know if they're like being mad at me or not. When I hear like another human through voice, I can kind of tell how they're feeling and whatnot, and that can just give me those relaxing cues that everything is fine, that we're gonna get through this. But when someone's writing in chat, I don't know if they're going like, okay, I'm gonna calm down and I'm gonna write this, and I'm not going to, act mad, but I'm still livid. And I don't know, like I always keep thinking, that people are just like one pull away from leaving the group or something when we start wiping. So that's why I prefer just talking. But this has been fine. This has been a lot better experience than what I expected, and it's definitely something that I think most people should at least give a shot to, if not continue to do it, because Party Finder is not as massive of a beast as we all kind of think it to be. I had a very hard time getting myself into Party Finder of any kind, because for a while there was a lot of us from our FC who were consistently playing. Like we were able to organize these like map runs, and to clear like extremes together and whatnot. And a lot of my friends are either not playing right now or not playing anymore. I don't know when they'll be back, if they'll be back. Some people have some IRL things going on in their life that are just something that can't be controlled or anticipated. So right now I'm just kind of I guess I'm at the point where I'm doomed to go through Party Finder, and it's either me going through Party Finder or me not playing the game at all at that level. I could be going around, doing the side quests, because that's something that I like to do, that I've been really wanting to do. But at the same time, I want to do this as well, and this is something that I've never done, and I feel like now is a good time for me to start getting myself into it. Party Finder is definitely intimidating, because okay, to me it's not as intimidating as it is disheartening to have the group fall apart and not even have like half of the people from your past group enter the next group. And then in a sense you feel like every single hour that you get to complete the duty, I feel like it's a new progress. I do enjoy progress, but then when you get yourself to the point where you understand the fight and when you want to progress, you don't have your completed duty, which is kind of barring you from entering those like loot farm groups or whatever, where essentially you would have done fine because you know the whole fight. But instead you kind of have to enter a new fresh run or a prog run or whatever, and then every single time you have to be like, okay, I've done this fight 20 times, I've gotten to enrage 12 times or whatever, and then you have to do the fight again for the whole hour with people who have never done the fight, in hopes that you can get all those people within 1 hour to learn the fight and to progress along with you. I don't think the party finder that the problem with party finder is the what do I want to say, the problem with party finder is not strangers. It's the overall having to like progress again and again with new strangers. But if you can deal with that, if you can just like tell yourself, okay, I'm I can totally do this. I'm gonna be fine. You can, and if you have enough patience for other people to learn the fight and progress through it, and you to watch them progress and maybe give them some tips if you know the fight better, you can have a really good experience. And if you really try, like if you come to the fight prepared, if you at least watch guides a couple of times, if you come with, I don't know, food, with pots, with whatever, there's a chance that you're really going to have a good experience, and people are really not going to get mad at you because um, the fight. Getting in the right party who has the same prog sometimes is hard to shop for. Yeah, exactly, because like, how do you know? Some people say, fresh run, we aim for kill, but that means that they could have either just made the party, or they could have like been at this for like 3 hours, which can sometimes feel like a double-edged sword, in a way that you either have these people like progging for 3 hours and they're super tired, or they are super motivated to get this done because now everyone knows the fight. And what's kind of a jerk move, I guess, is like entering a group and asking like, hey guys, how much experience do you have with this fight? Especially if you're not super new to the fight. If you hear that, like, I don't know, that most of them are super fresh to it, that this is their first run or whatever, like, it just feels bad to be like, hey, I'm just gonna go and look for another group, especially if you like play during the day and there's only like two groups available, and one of them is a loot or a farm run, and you don't have access to that group. It's either you starting your own group and hoping that you can get people within your group, but that can potentially turn into the same thing that you're having in this group. So when you already have those people, you might as well stick with them, and you might as well work through it with them, even if they are not always on their level. Yeah, sometimes they are definitely not straightforward. Sometimes they'll say, I more often than not, I see this description being like, kill for a friend. I don't really understand like what that means. I imagine like one, I don't know, person having another more experienced friend who's leading them through the fight. But if it's kill for a friend, that means that they have a friend who has the incomplete duty. So that means that automatically they can't put a complete duty as a requirement for you to join the party. So that technically means that everyone is welcome, and that even if you don't have your duty complete, that you can still enter the party. So a kill for a friend can potentially turn also into hours of progging, because yes, even though they can add in like helpers welcome, which pretty much is a nice way to say, hey, I need more experienced people in this fight because I want to get this done, I would still enter a group even if I was fresh to the fight, because if that friend is trying to get a kill, I might as well try to get a kill. I'm not trying to be carried. I want to contribute with the little knowledge that I have, so that I can enter these groups and potentially get a clear for myself as well. So there's a lot of these intricate little things and details about the group descriptions that sometimes are self-explanatory. Some people are like, this is a fresh run, we know nothing, and we're just gonna do this together, which I think is the most honest thing that you can do in a party finder. If you realize, if you're like, oh, a new player or a fresh player or first runner or whatever, if everyone who joins in your group, they're like, ooh, this is my first run as well, I think it's okay that like if someone leaves that group and you know that 7 out of like potential 8 people in the group are new to the fight, it's okay to say, hey, this is a fresh prog or whatever. It's totally fine. and someone usually will come around and help you more often than not. So that's kind of okay. I tend to put stress for the mechanics I'm progging on my description to get people to know up to where the fight I'm in. I see. I actually never thought of that. That's I mean that's one way to do it. Mm, I don't know. I think overall, Party Finder can be a good place if you get used to the dialect that's used there. If you can read through people's descriptions and just kind of, figure out from the very tone of it if that is something that you even remotely want to participate in or not, you can have a really, really good experience. And overall, I've had a good one so far, and I've like through Party Finder in the past couple of weeks. I cleared Endsinger Extreme. I just cleared my first Unreal. It was about time, and yes, I will definitely be doing Savage through Party Finder, and I will be doing my absolute best to bring as much as I can from myself to the table because I want to get myself into this content. And honestly, Party Finder, as intimidating as it might sound, it has given me confidence to do it because every group that I entered has made me realize that everyone else is pretty much in the same boat. Not everyone who enters a Party Finder is a freaking pro, and you're not a freaking pro either. So you just kind of go in with everything you've got, and you hope that it's going to be enough. Most of the time, um, the first run, you're not really going to be bringing all that much, but that's why you're there. Like, I feel like a lot of people also get disappointed because let's say you want to start with Savage and you want to get yourself into a Party Finder, and you're just hoping that your group is consistent of these amazing players who couldn't get it clear because of one person who's bringing them down, and they just left the party, and there's one spot left for you who from your perspective is decent. You've looked through the guides, you have your gear, you have everything that you need, and you just hope that these 7 amazing players will just be good enough to get your mistakes to be forgiving. Like, I have a feeling that a lot of people kind of perceive it that way, and then when they enter the group and they realize that other people are progging as well because it is a freaking prog group, they're like, oh shit, this is gonna take ages. And I'm not saying that it is content that everyone should be doing or should be interested in doing, but if you are even remotely interested in doing something like that, I see no reason why someone who has even decent gear from the current content and even at least a tiny bit of a desire to get themselves into endgame, I see no possible obstacle for someone for someone to stop them to enter Savage at any point. If you are willing to progress, if you're willing to look through the guides, if you're willing to come prepared like with food and such, you are already good enough. And for as long as you keep putting in effort, and for as long as you're playing during those hours when you're fresh, when you really feel like you can contribute to the group and do good things for your group and with your group, I don't think you should be afraid to join these groups. I mean, I'm saying this now. I'll talk to you in about, I don't know what, 2 weeks or 3 weeks after I've progged some or not progged some through Savage, and maybe I take back these words and I'm like, okay, never do Party Finder again. But for now, I wanna take this confidence that I have and actually get myself into something different, something new for me. I mean, I've rated in WoW. I've rated Mythic for about half a year. That was my only Mythic experience at that point, and it was stressful. But it wasn't stressful because of the very fights. The very fights were a lot of fun, and that's when I realized I kind of fell in love with raiding and doing endgame content. But the raids, entering those raids felt like a privilege on its own. Like, you get inside of the raid, you get picked for a roster, and you already feel like you beat the boss, even though you are yet to beat the boss, because you are you still have this whole fight to go through, but you've gone through like more than 50% of the fight. I'm talking about Shadowlands, for example, right now. Like, you had to do your Torghast, you had to do your Mythic Plus runs for the weekly vault, maybe you had to do some PvP for the weapon and whatnot. You had to play other types of content so that you can grind enough gold so that you can go to the auction house and buy food, buy like armor, like the stuff that you will put on your gear, to buy like enchantments, enhancements, whatever it is, to even like stand a chance. You had to, you have to have good enough hardware to run it at a decent quality so that you can see all the abilities. You have to have all the add-ons and everything. And once you are the full package and you enter the raid, you already feel like you've somewhat beat the boss. And I'm definitely super excited about Savage as well.